Hey everyone, it's Nicole again, and I'm here to do my March reading wrap-up. I managed to read, 3 novels, 2 graphic novel, comic book bind-ups, a couple of single-issue comics, and then 1 short story collection. So I'm just going to go in order of how I read them. To me, that makes more sense, even if I end on a bad note, but I don't think I will this month. So the first thing I read was The Prince and the Dressmaker, and this is by Jen Wang. This was the graphic novel book club book of the month for the Comics Experience book club, and I've read, I think, both of Jen Wang's other books, even though I didn't know that she wrote both of them. So she did Coco Be Good, which was, I read a long time ago, and it's got a real funky art style, and it's just about like sad college, I think post-college, like young people. And then she also did it in real life, which she did with somebody else, Cory Doctorow, and that was about this girl who like goes into this video game, which kind of helps people out. And I thought that one was okay, but it was definitely a lot more childish than like the other one I read at first. So I was super excited to read this one because I like her. And this is about a young dressmaker who wants to like, she just makes clothes kind of in a factory, not really a factory because it's like, I don't know when it's supposed to be, but like maybe the 1800s. She wants to like be able to make her own designs. And she meets up with this prince who likes to wear dresses, and he hires her to be his personal dressmaker. But she has to like keep it a secret because he doesn't want people knowing that the prince, likes to dress up in women's clothes. And eventually they kind of come to heads because she's been getting kind of recognition for the clothes that the prince is wearing, but she's not really allowed to say, and it was very good. I rated this 5 stars. The art is really beautiful, and I really liked their friendship. One thing that I wasn't sure about was how the prince identified. Like, they never said any specific words, like if he was trans or just androgynous, if like drag or was like non-binary. They never said those types of words, which is like reasonable because it's like supposed to be kind of a period piece. But I feel like I would have liked to know a little more how he identified. In my mind, just from what he said, it seemed like he was probably more like non-binary or agender, because he seemed to like to sometimes dress like a boy and sometimes dress like a girl. So that's how I felt, and yeah. But I definitely recommend this one. It was very cute, and I think this is one that like younger audiences could read and enjoy, and older audiences could also read and enjoy. So that was the first one I read this month. And then I read a audiobook, and that was Fates and Furies by Groff. Lauren? I think it's Lauren. So Fates and Furies is about this couple, and I feel like I read most of this in February. I just finished in March. So it's about this couple, Leo and Mathilde, and it's about, the book is basically split into 2 sections, Fates and Furies, and Fates is Leo's section, so it's about him and his life from like his whole life, and then Furies is about Mathilde, and it was a really interesting format, and also the audiobook is narrated by 2 different people, one for Leo, one for Mathilde. And so you're reading like Leo's part, and you think he's like this really great guy, and then you read Mathilde's part, and then you realize like, wow, he didn't know so much about his wife. Like, there was so much he didn't know about her, and she's kind of cool actually, but also they're both not very nice people, and I liked it, but it just was kind of missing something for me. I feel like it could have gone a little further. I feel like a lot of people had like a very emotional reaction to this book, and I didn't really get that. Like, I just kind of felt like someone was telling me a story about these 2 people, and I think I like liked it more listening to an audiobook than I would have if I had just read it, so I'm glad I did that. But to me, it was just alright. But I definitely want to check out more of her books because people seem to like her. And I think this is her most recent one, but she might have one that's coming out this year. Alright, and then the next thing I read was The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza by Sean David Hutchinson. And this is like, ow, I'm hitting myself. It's like the annotated page habit one. And this is about a girl, Elena, who was born, like had a virgin birth, but it's like a scientific explanation for it. And she's always kind of heard voices. And one day she performs a miracle on this girl that she has a crush on. And yeah, then the voices start talking to her more, and she has to decide if she wants to perform miracles on people in order to like save the world. So I thought this was like an interesting premise, and I was excited to read about like a cool bisexual Latina girl. And I liked it, but I don't know, I feel like the characters just weren't super three-dimensional to me. I feel like they could have been fleshed out a little more, especially the side characters. Elena was fine, but she wasn't a super interesting character, which I feel like is something that a lot of people say about this book. I did like the romance. Like, I know some people didn't because it's kind of hate to love in a way. Like, she has a crush on this girl, but the girl, like, has never noticed her before, and then she's basically super rude to her, and then stuff happens. But I could really relate to her love interest, like Freddie. She was, like, dealing with depression, and, yeah, just being an emotional teenage girl, and I was like, you know what, she is being very rude, but, like, in a teenage girl rude sort of way, so it's, like, pretty understandable. I feel like my main issue with this book was that I feel like I disagreed with her decisions, and I don't know how to talk about this without, like, spoiling the book, but, I mean, she, like, figures out she can perform miracles, and she's performing them, but also she thinks that it's not a good idea to perform them, but she keeps doing it, and I just disagreed with that. I didn't think she should be performing them on people. I mean, I think it depends on the circumstances. Like, if someone's gonna die, like, and they want you to help them live, like, that's fine. But, like, I had, like, 3 brain surgeries when I was younger, and if someone had come up to me and asked if I wanted to be healed, or, like, my mom wanted me to be healed, I'm sure both of us would have said yes. But I just feel like they've kind of shaped how I am as an adult now, and I feel like I would have been such a different person if that hadn't happened to me. But I mean, obviously I survived those, like, I didn't die. So it's kind of different if it's a life or death situation. And I also feel like all the stuff that I'm talking about is stuff that she was also thinking about. But I just think it took her a little too long to come to the conclusion that she did. Sorry if that didn't make any sense. I was trying not to spoil anything. But I am glad I read this book, and I want to check out other books by him. And it's great that there are like popular YA books coming out with like LGBT characters, so that makes me very happy. So anyways, and then I finished a book that I had been reading for like months. So I started reading The Vorrh by B. Catling, which some places it says Brian and some places it says B. But I'm just going by B because that's what's on the cover. But I started this like in October, I think, and I got like 100 pages in, and then I just put it down. So I picked it back up, I think in like the end of February, and then I kind of sped through it. Like every time I sat down to read it, I would get like 50 or 100 pages through it. But then I would just put it down for a couple days, and I don't know why I was doing that, because I did really enjoy this. I don't really know how to talk about this book because I knew very little going into it, except that there's like a mysterious forest outside of this town in Africa. I think it's, I don't know what part of Africa. I don't think it's a real town. Obviously the forest is not real. It's like a colonial town, and yeah, there's a weird forest, and it follows a bunch of different characters. Some people that live in the town, some people that live in the forest, some people that don't live in Africa that are like only sort of related, and it was really interesting. I liked kind of going back and forth between all these characters and then seeing how they connected, even though not all of them kind of connected at the end. There were some loose threads, but I know that there's gonna be 3 books. The 3rd one's coming out in July. So I'm assuming more things get wrapped up in the 2nd one, and probably even more things in the 3rd one. But yeah, I definitely really liked this. His writing was very, like, beautiful. Like, he's like a poet, which made a lot of sense. It felt like a book that a poet wrote. But it was also, like, pretty easy to read. It didn't take too long to read it. Like I said, like, every time I sat down to read it, I read, like, a lot at once. There was just something that, like, made me not want to pick it up. I don't know what it was, though, because I really liked it in the end. But yeah, liked this one. I think I gave it, like, 4 stars. Alright, and then the next thing I read was the Melancholy of Mechagirl by Catherine Valente. And I think these 3 that I'm talking, like these last, including this one, these 3 were on my TBR that I made for March. So I did pretty good on my TBR. 2 other books I'm like in the middle of, or like almost finished, and then 3 of them I didn't get to at all. And those were The Bear and the Nightingale, Her Body and Other Parties, and then Public Library and Other Stories. I think I just wasn't really in the mood for short stories, which was fine. I feel like I'm not always in the mood for them. But this is a collection of short stories that I was in the mood for. It's a collection of short stories and also poems, and Catherine Valente is like one of my favorite authors. I didn't super love the poetry in here. It was like, it used a lot of technical like sci-fi language, and it just didn't really flow very well in my opinion. But there were a lot of really good short stories in here that I liked. And these are all kind of touch on Japan and Japanese mythology. Apparently Catherine Valente, like her first husband was in the army or Marines, and he was stationed in Japan for a couple of years, I think, and she basically just like lived on her own and didn't know very much Japanese and just kind of wandered around the city. So it's kind of about that kind of loneliness she was feeling at the time, and just kind of Japanese folklore in general. And I thought it was done like in a very respectful way as someone who is an outsider to Japanese culture. It was just someone who like enjoyed that culture and was creating works inspired by it. Not like, here is what I think this culture means, and that is how it means, if that makes sense. It was just her inspiration from it. And the last one in here is actually a novella. It's maybe about 50 pages long, and that's Silently and Very Fast. And that one might have been my favorite thing that was in here. It was about this like AI that gets passed down through generations in this family. And it was just so interesting. And I feel like this really got me in like a sci-fi mood. Like I just want to read a ton of sci-fi books right now. Like I'm reading Barbary Station, and after that I'm like, I just want to read more sci-fi. So that was good, and I definitely recommend this if you've read some of her more popular works and you want to check out her like shorter fiction. Alright, and then I read a couple of single issue comics that I got. I'll just go through them quickly. I just like to talk about them for myself. So this is Saga chapter 49, which this cover is great. For some reason it took me like a week or so to read this. Not like sitting down and reading, because like these take like 5 minutes to read. But like I got it and then I just didn't read it for a week. But this was really good, and the next issue is their 50th issue, which is like really exciting that they've been on for so long. There are kind of some new relationships, like friendships happening in here, and I'm really excited to see where they go further along. And then I read Heav Opera. This is issue 8, but he does like 4-part arcs, and then they're called that arc. So this is Heav Opera in the Crimson Tower, number 4 of 4, but it's like number 8 of the Heav Opera comic. So that's kind of confusing. These are like really big for single issues, but I really like his art style. This is Andrew McLean. And yeah, this was really sad. I forgot what had happened in the last one because it had been a while, and I was like, oh, I forgot. Things are really sad and intense right now. This is just about a big Nordic Viking who lops people's heads off, and he's been carrying around this like magic witch head with him, and he just like goes on adventures, and yeah, people try to attack him all the time. So yeah, I liked the conclusion to this. And then the last thing I read was Spell on Wheels, and this is by Kate Leth, Megan Levins, and Marissa Lewis. And I was super excited to read this one. It's about these 3 witch girls, and somebody robs them, and they basically go on a road trip to kind of get all their stuff back. And then they have to like, there's a guy who's trying to do this magic spell to thwart them, and they have to like fight him. And it was really fun. I thought like more of them were gay. I don't know, like in my head they were all gay, but I think only one of them is, and basically she just like kisses a girl in one scene, and that's all. So I got these 3 comics one day, and I like during Savacathon, and I thought they were all gonna be super gay, and this is the gayest one, and it was not even that gay. But anyways, besides that, I thought it was good. I think this is just a mini-series, so I don't think there's any more. It's kind of sad because I like cool witch ladies. But yeah, I liked their kind of magic system, and thought it was like cute. It's not my favorite. It's very kind of cartoony, kind of like, I would say like Archie and Fables. I don't know why, that's just what came in my head. But yeah, I recommend this one, but definitely not as good as I thought it was going to be. Alright, so those are the books that I read in the month of March. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about. I feel like it was like a fairly good reading month. A lot of good like sci-fi fantasy, and that's like all I want to read now. So yeah, let me know if you read any of those, what you thought of them. Let me know if you read The Prince and the Dressmaker, because I feel like I've seen that one kind of floating around, but I haven't seen too many people talking about it, and I thought it was really, really good. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye!